What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest power players faces a wave of lawsuits, mounting backlash, and a collapsing empire? Kathleen Kennedy, the driving force behind Lucasfilm, finds herself at the center of explosive controversies that could drastically reshape Disney's future. Lawsuits are piling up, executives are losing faith, and even Bob Iger has voiced concerns about her leadership. But here's the twist. Kennedy is determined to fight back. With Disney spiraling and Skeleton Crew serving as her final attempt to salvage her legacy, the stakes have never been higher. How did things get to this point, and what comes next? Let's break it down. 2024 has been one of the most challenging years in the history of the Walt Disney Company, marked by significant setbacks across the board. While Disney celebrated its monumental 100th anniversary, the festive mood was dampened by a series of major box office failures. A prime example of this is The Marvels, a film that not only underperformed, but also symbolized Marvel Studios' diminishing dominance in the industry. This failure was so pronounced that even cultural icons like Elon Musk, South Park Studios, and media outlets such as The Daily Wire openly criticized Disney's direction and leadership, amplifying the public discourse around the company's struggles. Now let's focus on Lucasfilm, the division behind Star Wars and other beloved franchises. It's clear that its president, Kathleen Kennedy, has become a polarizing figure. Under her leadership, Lucasfilm has seen a significant drop in audience trust and engagement. Once a powerhouse in the film industry, synonymous with epic storytelling and box office success, Star Wars has struggled under her direction. Longtime fans have distanced themselves, citing disappointment in creative choices, particularly with projects like The Acolyte, which failed to resonate with its audience. Behind the scenes, tensions are escalating. Reports of internal disputes between Disney executives and Lucasfilm leadership, especially Kathleen Kennedy, are becoming more frequent. Her controversial decisions, along with what some describe as erratic behavior, have strained professional relationships and fueled a growing sense of instability within Lucasfilm. The cracks in the foundation of this once mighty division are deepening, and the fallout is being felt throughout Disney. Kathleen Kennedy is now at the heart of significant legal challenges that are tarnishing her reputation and shaking the very foundation of Lucasfilm's leadership. Lawsuits, including those related to the controversial use of digitally recreated characters like Tarkin in Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, have cast a long shadow over her presidency, further eroding Disney's confidence in her ability to lead the division. Tensions have reached a boiling point, with an increasingly hostile environment developing between Kennedy and Disney executives, including Bob Iger. What we're seeing could be the beginning of the end for Kennedy's tenure, as Disney's patience appears to be running out. The lawsuits in question have added fuel to the fire, notably the ongoing legal battle involving Gina Carano and other figures associated with Lucasfilm continues to create turbulence. These cases collectively amplify the pressure on Kennedy. Shockingly, a growing number of Disney board members are now calling for her resignation, citing a lack of transparency and leadership that has contributed to internal strife. However, not all board members agree, with some still advocating for Kennedy to remain until her contract expires in 2027, leaving Disney in a precarious position. The situation came to a head during a disastrous remote meeting between Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, and other Disney executives. This confrontation revealed deep-rooted conflicts, with Kennedy reportedly insisting on the right to decide whether she steps down when her contract expires. Instead of voluntarily stepping aside, she is determined to extend her contract until 2027. So, meanwhile, Bob Iger has publicly suggested that Kennedy consider resigning to help repair the damaged image of both Lucasfilm and Disney. To complicate matters further, Kennedy's contract is reportedly highly intricate and expensive to dissolve, making the prospect of her departure even more challenging. On top of that, no viable candidates have stepped forward to lead Lucasfilm, leaving the company stuck in a difficult situation. This leadership vacuum is creating a catch-22 scenario for Disney, where keeping Kennedy comes with significant risks, but finding a replacement seems equally problematic. Some Disney board members are considering elevating the current vice president of Lucasfilm to president if Kathleen Kennedy steps down. However, Kennedy has shown no intention of going quietly. In fact, during a recent emergency meeting with Disney executives about the future of Lucasfilm, Kennedy reportedly clashed with the leadership. This meeting addressed several critical issues, including budget cuts for Skeleton Crew, a Star Wars series that premiered on December 4th, 2024. While Skeleton Crew was expected to include the typical elements of Disney's agenda, insiders suggested it wasn't as controversial as The Acolyte. With the release of Skeleton Crew on December 4, 2024, we now have a clearer picture of how well it has been received. The series, which was anticipated to be Kennedy's final attempt to salvage her legacy, has faced mixed reactions. While it delivered some successes in storytelling, it didn't fully address the audience's concerns that have been plaguing Lucasfilm's recent output. Despite this, Kennedy's focus remains squarely on the series, as its performance could determine whether she stays on at Lucasfilm or faces further internal pressure. These legal battles have significantly impacted Disney's diminishing confidence in Kennedy's leadership. The real question is whether these mounting pressures will force her to resign or step away from Lucasfilm. Realistically, that seems unlikely. Kennedy appears determined to remain at Lucasfilm, doing whatever it takes to hold on to her position until her contract ends in 2027. This persistence could escalate tensions within the company, potentially leading to even more conflict between Lucasfilm and Disney's corporate leadership. What's particularly surprising is the growing number of board members openly calling for Kennedy's removal. This shift reflects the deep frustration within Disney about the state of Lucasfilm under her leadership. However, given Kennedy's resistance, her departure is far from guaranteed. What seems inevitable, though, is that the internal power struggles and disputes will only intensify, creating an increasingly volatile situation at Lucasfilm. We have had a direct conversation with Lucas about what move to make next on the podcast and for many. Kathleen Kennedy's current contract is as intricate as it is costly, presenting Disney with several potential routes to navigate her future at Lucasfilm. Ultimately, the decision rests with Bob Iger and key members of the board of directors. However, based on her history and determination, Kennedy seems poised to ensure things go her way. It wouldn't be surprising if she manages to solidify her position through 2025 and beyond, despite mounting pressure from Disney's leadership. That said, there's an interesting twist in her strategy. While Kennedy appears adamant about staying at Lucasfilm until the end of her contract in 2027, she has hinted at a possible early departure, though only if certain conditions align. A key factor in this decision seems to hinge on the success of Skeleton Crew. With the series officially released in December 2024, Kennedy had high hopes for it to serve as a much-neglected win for her tenure. However, as the series continues to be analyzed by fans and critics, it's clear that the response has been tepid at best. If Skeleton Crew ultimately fails to deliver, it could strengthen the case for her early exit, even with her contract still intact. However, given the complexities of her contract, any change in her leadership will be a long and drawn-out process. For now, the situation remains a waiting game, with 2025 shaping up to be a pivotal year for Kennedy's future at Lucasfilm. How this plays out will depend on the ongoing reception of Skeleton Crew and the ongoing tug-of-war between Kennedy and Disney's top brass. Right now, Kathleen Kennedy's primary focus appears to be securing a significant success before considering any potential departure. However, her frustration with Bob Iger, the board of directors, and Disney executives has been intensifying, particularly as more individuals within the company lose faith in her leadership. One major point of contention stems from Iger's decision to shelve several Star Wars TV projects. The company has shifted its strategy, limiting Star Wars series to a bare minimum and returning its focus to films, albeit still incorporating Disney's DEI initiatives. Additionally, Kennedy has expressed her dissatisfaction with Iger's lack of support, particularly in the wake of two high-profile lawsuits that have placed immense pressure on Disney. These disputes have further isolated Kennedy, with a growing number of Disney executives and board members distancing themselves from her. This ongoing tension has led to escalating arguments between Kennedy and Disney leadership, raising serious concerns about Lucasfilm's future. If these disputes continue, they could potentially open the door for even more lawsuits, further eroding confidence in Kennedy's ability to lead. Much of this hinges on how shareholders perceive Kennedy's management of Lucasfilm. Their dissatisfaction could intensify calls for a change in leadership, especially if upcoming Star Wars projects fail to deliver the success Disney desperately needs. The situation remains highly volatile, and it's becoming increasingly clear that Kennedy's position is under more scrutiny than ever. The situation has reached a critical juncture, with Bob Iger essentially admitting that Lucasfilm's current trajectory is unsustainable. The failure of projects like The Acolyte has led Disney to rethink its approach, deciding that shows of this nature are no longer viable. With Skeleton Crew positioned as the final chance for a turnaround under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership, the stakes couldn't be higher. Kennedy's determination to stay until 2027 hinges almost entirely on the success of Skeleton Crew. If the show doesn't deliver a significant win for Lucasfilm and Disney by 2025, her position may become increasingly untenable despite her contract extension. On the other hand, if Skeleton Crew achieves the success she's banking on, it will likely solidify her staying power for the remainder of her term. This precarious situation comes on the heels of other controversies, such as the fallout from Leslie Hedlund's involvement in The Acolyte and the publicized issues surrounding Amandla Stenberg's casting. The Acolyte was a major misstep for Lucasfilm, alienating Star Wars fans in its pursuit of social justice initiatives. These kinds of strategic mistakes have further damaged the Star Wars brand, and despite Skeleton Crew's release, there are no guarantees that the upcoming series will be enough to repair the damage done by these past failures. The next year will be crucial in determining whether Kathleen Kennedy retains her grip on power at Lucasfilm, or if Disney decides to make a significant change in leadership. One thing is for certain, this saga is far from over, and 2025 promises to bring even more revelations and surprises. The fate of Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm hangs in the balance. As Disney's future and the Star Wars legacy are being put to the test, your voice matters more than ever. Can Kathleen Kennedy survive the mounting legal battles, or is her tenure at Lucasfilm truly over? Is Skeleton Crew her last shot at redemption, or is this the beginning of the end for her leadership? How do you think Bob Iger's and other Disney board members' growing frustration will impact Kennedy's future at Lucasfilm? Will Disney finally make the radical changes fans have been calling for, or will Kennedy cling to power? If Skeleton Crew fails, do you believe Disney will take action and replace her, or will she remain? Drop your thoughts below and join the conversation. Let's shape the future of Disney and Star Wars together.